There we are. Ron, we are live across our socials. How you doing? Happy Thursday.
I'm doing great. And is this the second week we're on time, on the right day and everything?
I believe so. 4 minutes late we're the only ones that impose a start time on ourselves. But yes, we can call that on time.
We're raising our bar of our professionalism every week.
And even more so, this is the second week in a row that you're actually in your house. Look at you. You're not somewhere halfway across the world.
Not yet. Have we cheersed?
We haven't. Cheers to you. Happy Thursday. Happy hour.
Cheers to McKenna. Cheers to you.
Well, if you're joining us, happy Thursday. Happy Friday Eve. Ron and I go live every week. We've got a handful of topics to cover. We're going to chat for about an hour. And we break down our show with usually a from the gut part that is usually 8 to 10 minutes long. We've got three main meaty topics that are all to do with the housing industry, mortgage industry, and more. And then we've got 4 rapid fire topics and an AI tip of the week. So you excited about today's topics, Ron?
I am excited. It's going to be good topics, and we're going to go through them at a good pace.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at our topics real quick. The first one is my From the Gut series, where I've learned a lot of leadership lessons in a lot of different places. Band of Brothers was one of them. So I've got a little bit of leadership based off my own experience in our first section, and then we've got 3 meteor topics. Ron, lead the way on these.
Perfect. We're going to start off today with how oftentimes lower rates drive higher prices and actually negatively affect affordability. So we'll talk about that.
And then,
of course, our favorite topic, or mine, the whole vibe economy today. So we're going to talk about the vibe is pricey and consumers, impressions of inflation.
And then our last main topic.
Yeah, Americans are set to get some of the largest refunds that they've ever received, and we'll talk about the impact that has on housing and the economy.
And then we've got a few rapid fire topics, but without any further ado, let's get started on my From the Gut. All right. So one of my favorite lines from any TV show, probably any movie, and it's from the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers that came out, 20, maybe more years ago, 25. There's a scene between Dick Winters and Buck Compton. Both men were in a leadership position, and Buck Compton reports to Dick Winters. Winters had been with the company at this point for about 2 years, and Buck just came to this company, to Easy Company, just 6 days before you're about to see this clip. Buck's trying to get to know his men, his new men, and Winters teaches him a valuable lesson. McKenna, go ahead and play the clip.
These men have been through the toughest training the Army has to offer, under the worst possible circumstances, and they volunteered for it.
Christ, Dick, I was just shooting crap through them. It's not like
You know why they volunteered? So when things got really bad, the man in the foxhole next to them would be the best. Not some draftee who's gonna get them killed.
Are you ticked because they like me? Because I'm spending time to get to know my soldiers? I mean, come on. You've been with these guys for what, 2 years? I've been here for 6 days.
They're gambling, Bud.
So what? Soldiers do that. I don't deserve a reprimand for it.
What if you'd won?
What?
What if you'd won? Never put yourself in a position where you can take from these men.
So that line has stuck with me for years, and I've tried to use it during my years of leadership, because in the show it wasn't really about gambling per se. It was about power. If you're in leadership, you already typically will have the advantage or an advantage. You have authority, you have influence, you usually make more money, you control decisions that affect people's lives. So if you've ever put yourself in a position where you can take from people in your charge, and if you win especially, you're taking from someone who's already beneath you in structure. Leadership most times requires restraint. And this made me think of something from my leadership experience. Now it's in a much lighter way compared to war or that kind of thing, but it's still connected. For years, I used to host my entire team, different companies at my house, usually once per year, and it was typically a Christmas party. Not always, but typically over Christmas. And it included the entire team. Invite went out to the entire team, even their significant others. We'd cook, we'd laugh, we'd play games. And my wife and I, we love games. We're known for that. And quite often, for an end of week team meeting at work, I break out little minute to win it style games, and there'd always be a prize. Now, my wife and I are we're pretty good at games. We play almost every night something. It might be cards or rummy cube or catchphrase something. They're usually 5 nights a week. I would say we're playing games, and we're pretty good at them, especially when we're teammates because we do it a lot and we know each other so well. So I would always plan the games for our team, the company team Christmas party. I'd run the games, I'd organize the prizes, but on top of that, I wouldn't play and I wouldn't let Kelly play. She's good, and I know that she just can't turn off that competitive switch. She can't turn it off when it comes to games. So it's not that I didn't want her to win necessarily. It was because I didn't want her to win any of the prizes. And like I said, a much lighter example than what we saw in Band of Brothers. But I didn't want her to take that opportunity away from the team. It just didn't feel right, even though it was harmless, even though it was fun, even if everyone knew it was playful, it didn't sit right with me to be in a position where my household could take from theirs. Now, the prizes weren't big. They were no more than 20 to $25 each. But one year, the whole team starts chanting, "Let Kelly play, let Kelly play." So I gave in. We played a memory game, and of course, she won. And I wasn't mad. I bought the prizes anyway, and she even refused to take the prize. But in that moment, that line from Band of Brothers popped into my head. What if you'd won? And I realized something that it's not about the prize. It's not about the money. It's about your posture. It's about whether you use your position to extract or to invest. In business leadership, this can show up everywhere. Do you compete with your team? Do you hoard credit? Do you emotionally drain the people you lead? And do you win arguments that you don't need to win? There's subtle there's subtle ways that leaders can take. They can take time, take energy, recognition, commission. And sometimes it's not malicious, but sometimes it's just unconscious. But leadership isn't about what you're allowed to do, it's about what you choose not to do. Winters didn't tell Buck you broke a rule. He told him essentially, you don't get to take from the men you're responsible for. And that hits deeper than any policy ever could, because if you're ever in leadership or in business, or even if you have a family or invested in your community, your job isn't to win every game. Your job is to create an environment where other people win. And that sometimes requires restraint. It requires thinking one layer deeper, not can I, but should I? Not is this fear, but is this aligned with my responsibility and my morals? And I've learned that in small ways. Game nights, conversations, decision making, hiring, firing. It's easy to take when you can, but it's harder to hold back when you could. But that's the difference between influence and authority. Authority can take it, but influence chooses not to. And that line from Band of Brothers has stayed with me for years, ever since the first time I saw it, because it's simple. What if you'd won? If the answer means you're taking from the people you lead, maybe you're not the leader you thought you were. There you go, Ron.
David, once again, that was excellent. It's my favorite segment of the show. But I have to confess, I'm a bit confused. I've sat at the King family game table and I did not win. And I think Kelly won every game. So,
So why are you confused? Or you were just being sarcastic?
Well, not confused about losing, but I'm confused about your philosophy because you let her beat me repeatedly.
You don't report to me. That's the whole point. Taking from people that you lead or you're in charge of. So there you go. But no, you won't win at this game. Not if it's a friendly match or something like that. So, and McKenna can attest to that. McKenna, what say you?
Well, you're absolutely not wrong about that. With my mom absolutely dominating in any game, especially with people who haven't really played that game before. Because, like, we have family game nights and it's pretty equal in who wins and who loses. But anytime she's set up against someone who isn't used to playing with us, she normally wins.
Yeah, there
As
you
it
go.
should be. All right.
Yeah.
All
Great
right.
job, David.
Let's get into our three main topics. The first of which, lower rates, higher prices.
Yeah, this is a really interesting thing. And let's go to the charts and then I'll expand a little bit. So in the first chart, what this chart is showing, that gray area is when there was falling interest rates. And so you can see when there was falling interest rates that we had rising home prices. And this is Zillow's home value index. And the next chart from Redfin is even more pronounced. You can see once again during the pandemic, no, that's the inventory. We only say one chart, sorry. So this next chart shows that when interest rates go up, inventory goes up. When interest rates go down, inventory goes down. So there's two premises here we have to pay attention to. When rates go down, prices go up. The second thing is when rates go up, inventory goes up. And so we have some things that aren't working right here because what happens when rates go down, prices go up, you don't actually get an affordability gain. In fact, the increase in prices could far outweigh the savings in interest rate. Furthermore, when rates go down, velocity speeds up and inventory goes down, so buyers don't have as many choices. They lose influence, they lose leverage, and it becomes more expensive. And so the point here is we may all be rooting for interest rates to drop, and they will have a very short-term impact to benefit homeowners and buyers. But then that benefit for buyers will be outweighed by rising prices, which is good for the market. But it's just not always the best thing. And so you have clients right now that are trying to time the market. You want to talk them off that ledge and go, look, you're in the sweet spot right now. You're not going to have more leverage. There's not going to be more inventory. You're not going to have more choices. Now's the time. Now's the time to get in. Now, if rates go down, you can refinance. One last thing, and David, I'll go to you. Do not use the term, marry the house, date the rate. That is the dumbest term I've ever heard because it presupposes all sorts of things. It presupposes the home will maintain its value. It presupposes that the borrower will maintain their credit qualifications. It presupposes that they're going to keep their same income level. It presupposes that the loan guidelines are going to be all the same. Those don't, as we've seen recently, those don't happen. Prices can fall, people can lose their job, they can make a late payment. And so that marry the house, date the rate, I don't like saying that. I like saying, look, if interest rates improve and you're still in a position to qualify, you can benefit from a refinance. We can absolutely say that. We can encourage that. But I want to just use these cheap slogans personally. But David, as it goes to, home prices rising as interest rates drop, kind of offsetting any gains we might have in affordability, and Mike Simonson at Altos is the best about talking about this. When rates go up, inventory goes up. When rates go down, inventory goes down. It has to do with the velocity of sales. Both those, work against, people that are on the sidelines right now.
What's the danger in messaging from a loan officer when, we've always got a way to pitch how the market's doing. Right now, there's not a lot of competition. So, you're not going to find yourself in a multiple bidding war. So then we pitch that, right? And you can refinance later. But when rates are low, we're pitching, oh my gosh, rates are low. And there's always a spin. There's always an angle to say why right now is a great time to buy. And I think we all do that. But what's a danger from a loan officer's reputation in always saying right now is a great time to buy?
Well, right now is almost always a great time to buy, regardless
Right.
of the market conditions. If you can, I mean, if you can afford a home and it makes sense to you, it's a great time to buy. I mean, you need a place to shelter your family. It's also, as we know, the greatest path to wealth in America. Homeowners are 41 times, wealthier than renters. If you can afford to buy, it's always a good time to buy. As long as you're just like absolutely, in some sort of market euphoria. Like the worst time to buy is at the peak of the market, but you're rarely at peaks. Usually the market's flat, up a little bit, down a little bit. So very few times it's not a good time to buy, in my opinion. Now, the reasons why it's a good time to buy, the core values, the core fundamentals of buying. I need a place to house my family. I need a place of community. I need a place that shares my values, like I can expand on my family. All those things, a king of my castle, those are all important. It's a good investment now, or sometimes is it a better investment than other times? Yes, but over the long term, it doesn't matter. Now is a good time to buy.
Yeah. I've got no other thoughts on that one. You?
Well, let's keep going. We're doing good. I
Let's
told you.
let's
We're,
keep
we're gonna keep
going.
the pace going.
You're saying vibe quite a lot in our conversations lately. So the vibe is pricey. It's a trendy
Yeah,
word.
the vibe. You hear this word vibe all the time, and that's just really consumer sentiment or consumers psychology or society psychology. And most of the economic indicators, financial indicators are very very positive, but consumer sentiment is very very negative. And our job is to bridge the gap to help people get over the fear and the paralysis and the anxiety, to help them make wise decisions. That doesn't mean they do what we want. It means that they do the things that are best for them and to attain their goals. So here's the vibe is pricey. This is, and right now consumers are being told there's no inflation. What are you talking about? Inflation's under control. Matter of fact, inflation's coming to 2%. I don't know what you're belly aching about, and they're really complaining. Now let's go through the slides though, and then we'll kind of talk about the core substance. So you can see here all these things you can barely read, but you can see electricity, and this is I think since 2020, if I remember right. Electricity is up 41%, car insurance up 56%, college is up 22%, beef and veal is up 50%. I can't read whatever that is. Home prices are up 46%, restaurants are up 35%, coffee is up 50%, and pet services are up 44%. Let's just go through the rest of them, and then I'll kind of get a position on this. Just continuing it, you can see in groceries, flour is up 40%, lettuce is up 23%, seafood is up 23%, butter is up 21%.
You said this since 2020?
I think it's 2020. I'll go
Okay.
back. I'll check it when you're making your comments. Car repairs are up 63%. Movie and concert tickets are up 28%. Streaming channels are up 24%. Internet's up 11%. And then healthcare is up significantly. That's all we have to say there. You guys get it. And is that the last one, McKenna? I think so. Oh, let's save that for a minute. Let's go back one slide. So here's the thing. Why economists can say, inflation's in check. Now, to me, I think that that's a highly corrupted number, quite frankly. The owner's equivalent of rent, I question it all the time. Barry B would say it's too high or way too high. I would say it's way too low because we had 3 months of zero, which is a problem. In healthcare, David, the way that they calculate the inflation numbers, they calculate that there's been no increase in the cost of healthcare since 2019.
Hmm.
Now, nobody, and that includes, by the way, your insurance payments or your deduct. It includes everything. Like whoever's figuring that out is, I mean, they use armies of economists to do this, PhDs, and they're telling me, health insurance is the same. But regardless, what inflation is what we experience all the time. It's gasoline. How much is gasoline? It's coffee. It's beef. Like right now, David, we talked about how, many forecasters think we're going to have $10 ground beef here at the end of next quarter, by the end of next quarter. It's just because there's a massive beef shortage. We have less beef in the United States today than we did in 1951. And we're not importing a lot of beef. But all the things that were core, we go to the store and they're super expensive. And that's what our impression is. That's what our vibe is. And that is very hard to beat. It's very hard to beat. But here's the thing, and this is the trick. And so inflation is real. And I go to the grocery store, I can't believe it. I go to restaurants, I can't believe how expensive stuff is. I can't believe how expensive breakfast is. And so that's my feeling, that's my vibe, and it's absolutely true. But David, let's go to the next slide, the last slide, McKenna. And here's what's crazy, everybody. This is what's super crazy. The last slide, next slide, sorry. This chart is the most important chart, and I would use this chart all the time with my clients. I would acknowledge, look at the prices on food are up. The prices on everything is up. I get it. It's so expensive. But do you understand your income's up higher than the inflation of these prices over time? So if we take the same time from 2020 to now, the average wage is up 31%. So the average wage is up 31%, which is 0.5% higher than inflation, I think, depending on where you live. And of course, inflation strikes you depending on what your consumer habits are. So it could be different what you buy, but roughly it's higher than inflation, but we don't feel that. And here's a couple of things. What we think that when we get a raise at work, it's because we earned it. We deserve it. We are great. We contribute. We're productive. Great. We don't think it's a cost of living increase. Like that would offend us. So then when our pay increase is essentially eaten by cost of living go up, we're very offended. We're like, you just took away something I hard earned, not thinking it was a cost of living adjustment. And so that makes us mad. Understandable, right? And here's the thing, the bottom line, David, real. So nominal is just, hey, wages are up 31%. But real is wage increase minus inflation. And so as you can see here in 2026, wages are 3.7% higher than inflation. And you can see that wages for the entire 5 years, although they got really close in Q2 of 2022, but wages have stayed higher in real terms than inflation. And that's an important thing, but it's hard to get through the vibe. And the only thing I would suggest that if you work with home buyers or homeowners is you got to walk them through this. Like, I understand the emotion. I feel the same way every time I have to pay $10 for a cup of coffee. I feel the same way when I got to go to the store and get ground beef that is $8 a pound. I feel the same way, but are you also making more, which is super relative? David, how does that strike you?
Let me just make sure I'm understanding this chart properly. So wages are up 31%, but adjusted to the increase in inflation, they're actually only up 3.7%. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Have they really gone up 31%? I
Yes.
mean, I've been at 2 different companies, not including my own company, since 2020. And I haven't seen that in my experience with wages going up 31%.
Oh, 100%, especially during the pandemic when there was that mass job migration and people are
Yeah.
getting paid 2 times as much to move jobs.
Yeah.
And by the way, to be completely honest, this is also kind of driven by the high end of the high wage earners. I mean,
Right.
so if you're, I don't know, if you're Bill Gates and you earn $2 trillion a year, or Elon Musk, you're pulling the whole curve up.
Yeah. So
But it's yeah.
my follow-up question to that is how much of this is attributed to as many companies that we're seeing right now just struggling and their margins have almost disappeared? How much of this has to do with that? I would imagine a lot.
How much of wages have to do with companies' profitability?
Especially in the last 5 years since 2020.
Yeah, you know what, David, I'm going to answer that a different way. We should see huge wage gains as productivity continues to increase because of AI and other technologies, and a way that's usually represented by growing GDP. Right? GDP is just a measurement of productivity in the workforce. And so as GDP rises, so should wages. Now understand though, as wages rise, that becomes inflationary. So rising GDP drives rising wages, which drives inflation, which will drive rising interest rates. But we got to understand that. And you got to, and David, we talked about this before, and I'm not going to drop a rant window on you. But we want to root for rising GDP and rising wages and then be comfortable with sticky interest rates.
Right. You ready to talk about taxes?
Yeah, we hit the post on that again. We're
We did.
3 for 3, dude. Yeah.
Refunds lift. There we go again. The vibe.
Yeah, this is great. So let's just go ahead and look at the numbers. Here you can see what the average refunds have been for the last few years. As you can see, and by the way, they give you 3 tranches because what happens, the refunds get bigger as the returns are turned in later. Because the wealthier filers have to file later because they don't get the same tax documentation in the same time period. For example, you have to get your W-2 by January 30th, but you're not required to get a 1099 until I think June or something. So you're not required to get some sort of 1065s and other things until later in the year. Partnership reports. And so that's why usually refunds are later in the year. But as you can see, for early refunds, the early refunds in 2024 were averaging $1,741, and this year they're averaging $2,290. And what the analysts actually are forecasting is that the average taxpayer will get about $1,000 more this year than they did last year. The average taxpayer, and that's a lot. That is a lot. That's injecting a ton of money into the economy, but it also makes people happy because it comes to you. It feels tax free, even though it's a refund of overpaid taxes. It feels tax free. You're like, woohoo! I got woohoo! And that's why you see around this time when you see all these car advertisements, because people are most likely to buy cars with their refunds. They can afford the car, and so here's the thing. Taxpayers have really three choices in what they do. They can pay down debt. They can put money in, build their savings, or they can consume. And it's some mixture of that, right? And depending on their confidence level, some years they pay down more debt, some years they boost their savings, and some years they consume. My guess is this year about half of the tax refunds will go towards consumption. And so once again, that's going to really heat up the economy. We're putting, billions and billions of more dollars in the economy, hundreds of billions of dollars in the economy, and half that's going to go to consumption, and it's all going to make our consumers feel happy. And so you should see a little bit happier consumer, a little happier vibe. But here's the other thing, as we know, as we've heard Barry and everybody else tell, inflation is, too many people chasing too few of goods, or too many dollars chasing too few goods. Well, right now we have X amount of goods, and you're going to inject all this money into consumers' hands. They're going to go consume. Right, so you're going to increase demand without necessarily increasing supply, and so you'll see some upward pressure on inflation. And upward pressure on inflation puts upward pressure on rates. But I'd rather have a happier customer and sticky rates than a pissed off customer, which you have right now, not doing a thing when rates are dropping.
Of that money that goes towards consumption, do you have any insights on where in consumption, what categories?
Yeah, there's like a pie chart that shows it. I didn't memorize it. I know that cars are a big part of returns. It's debt, it's savings, it's cars, and then it says consumption. People do trips. They do some of those bigger ticket items that they haven't budgeted for, or they're budgeted through their return.
Right.
It's good though. People feel happy about it. And by the way, that's 100% intentional. It's not accidental that the current administration is trying to goose how people feel before the midterm elections. I mean, it makes sense.
Right. More money. Go get that Tesla.
There you go. Hey, McKenna, you mentioned before you hate doing taxes. Is that right?
I was actually just thinking about that as you were talking about taxes, and I could feel the anxiety building up in my chest as you were talking about taxes, and I was thinking about the idea of having to do my taxes. I hate them so much.
It's really educational to do your taxes. I mean, it's amazing.
I've been doing them since I was 16. I've done it enough.
There you go. Okay. And are you expecting a large return?
No, I'm on a 1099.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm paying money.
Yeah, no, and my guess is you may go on strike after seeing that 31% status.
I mean, yeah.
All right, we killed this topic, and we're on time. Let's go.
Yeah, rapid fire. We're talking about real estate agents and their use of AI.
Yeah, let's just dump the data really quick, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. We like this topic, but here you go. We're going to dump a whole bunch of data. So this is, where do you feel AI delivers the most value for your business? Saving time, 71%. Improving communication, 62%. Strengthening presentations, about 50%. Reduce workload. You can see this: pricing and market analysis, prospecting, consistency, lead generation, or I'm not seeing any value yet. All right, next.
And this is coming from real estate agents.
Yeah, this is I don't remember. It's from I don't remember how many respondents they had to the survey, but this is how they responded. Which types of tools have you used? Writing tools is most. Chatbots and AI assistants, which is interesting because those are built into their systems. Image editing tools, market analysis and pricing tools, CRM, video, CMA tools, none, and other. So there you go. Mostly writing, mostly the basic stuff. Although you see chatbots starting to slip in there. What's next? All right, where does AI deliver the most impact for your business? Not surprising, writing, since that's what we're using it most for. Creating special media content, writing. See, the top three things are all like writing, right? Then finally, going to the fourth one is analyzing market trends, creating buyer seller presentations, website, blog content, lead follow up, running CMAs, property search, and on and on. Now, listen, I think we have one more, right? If I remember right. Oh, we have two more. Okay, what concerns do you have about using AI in real estate? Well, the accuracy of output, the compliance of or legal issues, misinterpretation of market data, learning curve, fair housing concerns, website blog content, client perception, other unknown costs, or I don't currently do any task. All right, so now the last side, I think, right? What gets in the way? What's your biggest barriers? I don't have any barriers. Good for you, those 34%. I like that. Not enough training, honest, that's 17%. That's true for many people. Too many tools to choose from, so just sit that out. I'm not sure how to start. Cost, I don't trust the accuracy. It feels overwhelming. I'm not sure what's allowed or safe. So, David, that's all the data. So it's good to see 82% of the agents are dipping their toe into AI. Now, notice they're using it mainly for performative tasks, like for writing, for maybe some marketing, for some content. They're not really using the full strength of the engine for analysis. You didn't see anybody say that we use them for personal training and coaching, for role playing, for scenarios. We didn't see any of that, and we didn't see about building a home ownership plan, budgeting plan. We didn't see some of the richer things, and I would have really loved to see how they have their clients interact with different AI interfaces like chatbots, and things like that. David, what's your thoughts on this topic?
I'm just curious if you know of many real estate agents that are leaning heavily into it, and if so, what areas?
Yeah, of course. I think the agents, whether you're a loan officer or a real estate agent, but the agents that are leading the most into it are using chatbots. They fully have adopted their company's platform that has most likely some sort of, voice chatbot doing both receiving phone calls and proactive outreach. Of course, they're also using it for predictive analytics, and so they're letting the AI tell them who's ready to buy before they even know they're ready to buy. Things like Mortgage Coach AI or Next Gen AI from Mortgage Coach, they all have those tools built into it. Like almost every now big platform, software system has some sort of AI tool, and yet we're so conditioned for 20 years of only using the stuff to the left, not the stuff to the right. And great agents, though, are going to stuff to the right. I'll tell you, and I don't want to run over time. I was listening to a podcast with Brian Hale and David Savage. I was listening to the podcast. It was from last week, and Dave Savage was quoting Steve Brown, who is the I forget his title, AI something or other. He's a leading AI guy, and he said essentially, look, AI when somebody who is great at their job it adopts AI, it's almost like they become superhuman. And so from that, why the guy's on why Steve's on his podcast, right? Um, Brian Hale actually goes and licensed Superhuman LO. He has like a million people signed up for it. But that
Wow.
whole idea of I'm I'm already great. Like if you suck, AI isn't going to help you unless you help AI, train you. AI is not, if you're out of control and if you can't sell anybody, you can't do anything, you got a problem, right? But if you're relatively good, or you can get better, or if you're great, AI can make you superhuman, and that's what I think really is true. David, your thoughts?
No, just it doesn't surprise me to hear that. That's a great way to look at it. Because yeah, if there's a person that's not a great LO or real estate agent, uh, there's a handful of variables that could tie into that. Is it lazy? Is it you just don't have a sales hat on it? And I think their approach to AI, you have to approach AI like it's almost a part of your job, because it is now, and if it's not, then you're falling behind. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good. We'll keep it moving.
All right, talking about the iPhone.
Talking about iPhone. Planet iPhone. And McKenna, you're going to join us for this topic, I would assume. All right. So we're going to get right to the punchline here. Let's get the first chart. Simple as this. Average hours spent on a mobile device, I think it's per day, is now up to 6.3 hours. 6.3 hours spent on your phone, which is literally crazy, right? And that's up an hour in the last 2 years. It's up 1 hour in 2 years, I think. So that is a significant increase. One last thing. Here's the thing, and you naturally go, "Oh, those dang kids! Those kids, they always are looking at the dang screen. Those kids." So this next chart is going to slightly refute that. And David, to your point yesterday, I mean, this is very generalized. As essentially people under 25 and people over 36. And people over 36 now actually have more screen time. If they extended this, I can tell you it's the case. People over 36 now have more screen time than people under 23. So it's not just a youth phenomenon. But David and McKenna, are you joining us? What's your thought about 6.3 hours a day on your screen? And do you do that screen time?
Not sure if it's going to focus.
10 hours and 48 minutes.
Yeah, David, I did this before. I was in a group. I was in a mastermind. We all had to show our screen time, and mine was
Yeah.
super high, which you think is surprising. But it came from my exercise tracking, which is screen time, and from podcast listening and book listening. All those counted as screen time. But when
Yeah.
you subtracted those things that were just background to something else, I was like 5 minutes. I was like 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how I feel about that. 10 hours, 48 minutes.
Does that
I'd
also
have
count your computer, though? I'm pretty sure it also tracks on other devices, too.
Does it?
I'm
Yeah, I mean,
pretty sure it does.
if that tracks computer, then because yeah, my phone and computer are connected, both Apple
Yeah.
devices, so possibly, which if it does track both my phone and my computer and calculates it into that average, I'm actually surprised it's not more than
I was
No,
thinking the
that would
same
be too
thing.
low. And it tells you what it is, so you can kind of see where do you usually do those activities. It lists it right underneath it.
Let's see. I'm not going to show
doesn't
my
show
number because I'm scared.
device.
No, but it doesn't show activities like what you spent your time on. Because that's how I knew it was for Audible, or it was a podcast, or it was my exercise watch, because it told me line by line what it was. And I
Okay.
think it was sorted by the most to the least.
These numbers aren't numbering because this says daily average 16 hours
Oh,
is my average. But it's not showing up listening to podcasts or anything like that, which I do a lot. And then I also read on my phone a decent amount.
Nice.
But it was showing my main thing that I thought would be driving that up is TikTok, because I am definitely addicted to TikTok. But my average was about 3 hours. So I don't know where that 16 hours is coming from.
Well, first, I just got to say we had an ironically hilarious moment here. When we're talking about screen time, also, we're all staring at our phones. Like all three of us are looking down. It was like a 2026 moment. I'm like, what are we doing? All right, we got anything else on screen time?
I don't think so. Let's move
that
to
banquet beer.
banquet beer.
Yeah,
Are we talking about Gen Alpha in the digital age here?
We are exactly. Now this is a kind of it's a harder topic to talk about, so we'll just be super general. I don't remember. Do we have slides on this? You see, it's getting late in the show. I'm forgetting what we're doing. All right, so these are just kind of mind candy. This is some of the new behaviors of I think it's Gen Alphas, Gen A's. They're 64%. They use chatbots. 85% play video games. 59% say mental health is a big issue. This is something I didn't know. This is a really growing thing, David. Did you know that there's a growing resale market? Like Gen A loves resale, so it's going to be $360 billion a year in 2030. I mean, resale is
Resale
like,
market of what?
everything. They just love to barter, sell, buy old stuff. They're totally into it.
Hmm.
Um, and then 66% prefer to shop in the store, but that's not what really the story is. Here's what this is. We're talking this from a financial literacy standpoint. And David, you and I both are somewhat passionate about financial literacy. And this, we align with First Home IQ and David and Kristen that there's a financial literacy crisis in America. And I agree with Dave that loan officers, mortgage professionals are perfectly positioned to be at the front line battling that crisis. And so, what this originally article was, and the article was from Bloomberg. And the article, the title of the article, in case you guys are curious, is "How to Teach Gen Alpha Kids About Money in a Digital World." And so, not only do people not understand how interest or compound interest or any financial terms work, but and not only do kids not even know how to write a check, or even for that matter, how to post a letter. But now today, where like they were saying, like something like the average 3-year-old has already hit a pay now button, like they've already hit the click, and they don't have any concept of what money is. It's just if you want something, you just hit a button and it appears. And so what the article says, look, the way you help to teach kids about finances is, one, you need to create an environment where they have to use physical money. And one, you got to get them chores. They have to understand chores, right? And then you have to create a budget off the money they earn. They have to understand the give and take of have money, spend money. And it was just saying, look, you have to make it non-virtual, because they'll never learn fiscal, concepts if it's just beep, beep, just press the button. They just won't learn it. And so you want them to touch cash, and you want them to budget and everything. It's a very interesting article. McKenna, I know David, I want your thoughts, but McKenna, I'm really interested in your thoughts on this.
I was actually going to hand it over to McKenna because me and Kelly came up with a system to reward our kids, and Kelly was the enforcer of it. But McKenna, do you want to tell about that real quick?
We can't hear you.
Whoopsie daisy. Yeah, we had a plus and minus chart calendar. So it was a little dry erase calendar. And if we did our chores well, or if we had a good attitude, or if we did well in school, or this, that, and the other, we would put a little plus on our chart. And if we did something bad, take whatever you can think a bad thing that a kid could do. You get a minus. And at the end of the week, you add those up. And if you have more pluses than minuses, then you get money. And it's like a quarter dollar for each plus. And then, a minus takes that away. And if we got to the end of the week and we had more minuses and pluses, then we owed money. But I did think that was a very good way to, introduce money and earning money into just kind of like our heads. I will say though, for me, it feels like I'm not spending money whenever I have cash, because I'm usually focused on the number that I have on my bank account. And so if I'm spending cash and that number doesn't go down on my bank account, then I didn't spend any money. And so for me, you were talking about cash and that kind of stuff, and I'm not Gen Alpha, but for me, it's definitely the opposite experience of like, oh, I got cash to burn.
Are you familiar with Dave Ramsey?
I am, yeah.
So, I mean, he preaches, put whatever your budget for the month is, put in cash into each envelope. And when that envelope runs out of cash, you no longer get that activity. So, like groceries or, date or whatever it is, close. Like when that envelope's empty, your budget's gone, and it makes you do it in cash because it just makes people feel. But McKenna, here's what I'm interested in. You're closer to younger people than we are. Do you get a sense that your friends and even the younger generations have a sense of what money is or how to manage it, or any concept of that? Do you think? Because it would be so foreign if you never really saw it. You just pressed a button and bought stuff.
I mean, my generation were almost pretty much all adults. I was just on the phone with one of my friends, and she's married, has a house, and has a kid on the way. So I would definitely say that my generation has a good handle on how money works. For Gen Alpha, they're younger, and so I don't even know if there's a new generation below Gen Alpha yet. I'm not sure, but for them, I don't really think I could speak to that. But for my generation, absolutely. I mean, a decent amount of my friends now have like homes and children, and so I would say that we have a pretty good grasp on money.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, and you're probably right in a way. But looking at it from a mortgage standpoint, something like 70% of Americans think you have to put 20% down to buy a house, and that number is so false. The number is usually 3% or 5%. So when you go to financial literacy, it's not, look, I understand there's 100 ones in a $100 bill. Do you understand compound interest? Do you understand, like, simple, do you understand your credit score? Do you understand the impact of your credit score? Like it's there's like, okay, I understand, I get money, I budget money, I spend money, but oftentimes we don't understand some of the more critical concepts. What's your thoughts about that?
I mean, I think you can't look at a single generation as an entire monolith. There are some who do know these things and there are some who don't. And I don't think it's necessarily an age thing. I think it's an education thing of some of us we were never taught that, some were able to learn that, or some were interested in learn that, or some through experience learned that. But then there are also some who never learned that. And so I don't think it's quite fair to lump all of Gen Z into such a like I said, a monolith in that.
Yeah, well, I agree too. It's not that generation's problem. It's the generation that didn't teach them's problem. I mean, their previous generation's one that failed. But that's awesome. All right, Dave, you got any closing thoughts on this before we transition to our what's going to be our most frolicking topic?
I don't. How are we going to transition to this next one?
We had to save this one. Okay, here's how we transition. I got a perfect transition. What does it mean? There's been a lot of talk right now about companies are no longer going to give peanut butter raises.
What?
Do you know, McKenna? Do you know what it is? David, do you know what that means?
No.
Yeah, well, it's
Repeat what
another
you said.
financial term. It's really interesting. So peanut butter raises is when a company gives everybody a 3% or 5% raise. The peanut butter is spread evenly across the bread, right? Companies are now starting to abandon what's called peanut butter raises and doing merit raises. And they're like,
Mm.
hey, loser, we don't care if you don't like the you didn't get a raise. Leave, you suck. And
Yeah.
winner, here, you get the whole wheelbarrow full of money. We love you. Keep doing what you're doing. And so the era of peanut butter raises is over. How's that for a transition, David?
That's good. I anytime there was a raise that was either the same or close to the same, it wasn't considered. It was more of a cost of living adjustment and not necessarily a raise, and that was anywhere between 2 to 3%, sometimes more, 2 to 5%. So you had to average out at about 3%, and you could give more to whoever at your discretion. But yeah, those were always cost of or looked at as cost of living increases and not bonuses.
Yeah, as a sales leader, David, I always described it jackhammer raises. You want to raise, do another loan. Simple as that. you know,
Yeah.
you can
Well,
give yourself as
sales,
many raises as you want.
yeah, and sales positions are different as well. So
That's what I said. I
This
accept that.
topic
McKenna?
makes it sound like you're about to start talking about raises and not what we're actually talking about.
No,
agreed.
we're going from financial terms, to peanut butter, and that was the bridge.
Peanut
Peanut butter
butter.
raises. It's a sticky topic, but the thing is, creamy or nutty. Now, here's the thing, David. We came across a survey of Americans' favorite condiments. And the survey had 1 million complaints because people responded, none of those are condiments. And the authors of the survey said, yeah, we're just trying to be as inclusive as possible so that we get interesting results. And so you can see here, the number one condiment in America is peanut butter, which we're going to talk about in a second, followed by honey, salsa, barbecue sauce, chocolate sauce, ketchup, maple syrup, jam and jelly, ranch dressing, mayonnaise, hot sauce, honey mustard, soy sauce, and Italian dressing. Now, I don't think half those are condiments, but it's still an interesting. I mean, I don't even know how you call peanut butter a condiment. I don't know how you call jelly a condiment or chocolate sauce a condiment. But let's say we call that. Was that how you would, McKenna, come back on? Is that how you guys would both rank your favorite condiments? What's your favorite condiment?
Well, first of all, I think all but two of those, I would consider all but two of those condiments.
Which ones would you not consider condiments?
Peanut butter and salsa.
Salsa is
Chocolate sauce?
absolutely a condiment.
Chocolate sauce is a condiment in your world.
What do you
Maple
put on
syrup
top of
is
your
a condiment.
tacos?
Jelly is a condiment.
Here, I think here's how I look at it. You have a peanut butter sandwich. It's just peanut butter. All the other stuff you put to to on top of something else that's the major part of the meal or whatever it is. Like mayonnaise, you put it on a sandwich to highlight everything else, but peanut butter is the whole shebang.
How
I see.
often do you put
So you,
salsa on top of your taquitos
but hold on, I get it. So
or your
your
tacos or
definition,
burritos?
David, your definition is if the ingredient plays a secondary or tertiary role. If
I
it's
think so.
in a primary role, it could be considered a condiment. Which I get that. That makes sense. I mean, I can understand that.
Yeah.
I'm
All
still
right, but
baffled at your
what's your
choice of
number one?
salsa.
What's your guys' number one? What would be your number one condiment?
Hmm.
Chick-fil-A sauce. It's not on there,
Chick-
but
David?
sorry.
Either if we're taking peanut butter out of it, which actually that probably wouldn't be my top. It's probably my favorite, but to me that falls into a different category. I would say probably mayo or mustard.
Oh, I'm going hot sauce all day long.
Hot sauce might be a close third.
Yeah. And so, David, when's the last time you had peanut butter? McKenna, what was yours favorite? Did you say? It's gonna
Well,
be
I said Chick-fil-A sauce, but if I were to
uh,
say on this list, I would say screw you, salsa is, and
you,
it's not just to be a contrarian, but I would say on this list probably salsa.
you can stick with the Chick-fil-A sauce. It's okay. You can go off the script. And then, David, when's the last time you had peanut butter?
Don't know, but I'd say within actually quite often Callie will make on a weekend a not a meat and cheese tray, but just a smorgasbord of finger food. She'll cut up some apples and then she'll put a dollop of peanut butter that we scoop in with the apples. So that's been within it the last couple months or so.
I
Nice.
am not a fan of peanut butter, and I lived abroad for quite a while, and the amount of times that I heard my friends abroad tell me, "You are the only American that I've ever met that doesn't like peanut butter."
Yeah, yeah. By the way, everybody, we had a little pre-show talk yesterday that really fell apart fighting over peanut butter. So our show wasn't well put together today because we're fighting about peanut butter. But I, I don't have peanut butter. I doubt I have it once a year. I mean, honestly. But
Mm.
there is nothing better than a peanut butter sandwich. Peanut butter, Smucker's strawberry, jam on like Wonder White bread, or even like a wheat bread. It's every time I do that, it's the best thing.
It
Which I
always
need to do
tastes the
that
best
more.
at the beach as well. It's probably the
Yeah.
only time that I'll have a peanut butter jelly sandwich is at the beach.
Now I'm guessing it's not healthy. It's full of fat and sugar, and then
Sugar.
full of carbs, so it's not healthy, but it's okay. Now, when we were talking about this yesterday, this is when we really, if the wheels came off the wagon, is I said, yeah, peanut butter and jelly with some crumbled, crispy bacon, and McKenna, you nearly had a heart attack. I go, even maybe some thin slices would go with like the Elvis special, thin slices of banana, you know.
That just bacon on a peanut butter jelly sandwich. That makes me want to throw up in my mouth.
You got. I'm so sad we couldn't deliver a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with bacon. I'm gonna go next year. If next time you're at my house or next time I'm at your house, I'm gonna make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with bacon.
Oh, okay.
Do you eat bacon? I mean, bacon.
I mean,
How's bacon
yeah.
not a part of everything?
I it should not be a part of everything.
It should be a
I
part of
mean,
everything.
I'll just make sure to avoid anytime you come here and to not go over there.
Come on, you're hurting my feelings. You gotta trust me on this, David. You want to land this plane?
Yeah, just make sure when you do come here and make one for McKenna, you make one for me as well.
Yeah, and for me likewise.
Right. All right, let's move on to our last thing, which is our AI tip of the week. I forget what we're talking about, but roll the bumper.
We got the easiest one. Yeah, our tip of the week today, David, is the simplest thing possible. If you want to increase the efficiency and accuracy of your AI tool, simply duplicate your prompts. So give the prompt at the beginning, then give an explanation, and then repeat your prompt at the end. Because the way that the AI tool works is that it reads forward and then it reads backwards. And so when you do it twice, it raises its efficacy by like 30%. Simple as that. Doesn't take any more compute, doesn't take any more size or strength, doesn't take any more speed. You just get a better result. No more complicated than that.
Is that true for all AI platforms, Ron?
Look at you go, David. No, it's not. And by the way, do we have another slide on this? No, it's not. Where it works is on typical. Oh, here we go. So honestly, 1 second, David. So how to use it? Rank from easiest, most powerful. Basic repeat, verbose repeats, triple repeat. Each time raises your efficacy. Keep going. Let's go, McKenna. Favorite highlight: the gains are most dramatic when your question and context are in awkward order, like when the answer choices come before the question. In one test, Gemini 2.0 flashlights accuracy on the name retrieval task jumped 21% to 97% just from repeating the prompt. Wow. All right, I'm gonna answer your question on this one of the next slides here. Now, here's the best thing: it doesn't work if you're using a reasoning model. It really works when it uses what's called a chain of thought or step-by-step model, because it goes, you just go first step, then you get information, and then you go last step, and it goes last step, and it goes back to first step. But if it does reasoning, it will do spatial reasoning, which isn't linear. It's more like boop, 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 boop. And so it may not see your prompt twice the way it works. And so you have to be on a chain of reasoning thought, not a reasoning. And you guys all know most AI models, you can pick what type of model you're using, whether it's reasoning or it's graphics or whatever it happens to be. And so you want the reasoning off if you want to try this prompt. But super simple, not complicated. Try it, see how it works.
All right. Ron, I think that's a wrap for this week.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. It's Thursday. Happy Friday Eve to you. Thanks for joining us. Probably the best place you can see any previous shows is on YouTube. So check out our YouTube channel, subscribe to it. And I think that's it. So we begin with a cheers, we end with a cheers. So Ron, happy Thursday to you. Hope you have a great weekend. All right. See you next week.